Hey everybody, this is Crazy Mr. Moose, and welcome to Dark Cloud, the original kind of tips and tricks walkthrough guide thing. So the first thing that I want to go over is, this is more for someone who's interested in getting all of the weapons. One of the big parts of this game is building up your weapons into other stronger, better weapons. So like using this Mirage, using the build up function here, getting all of the stats equal to a point where you want where it's no longer redded out like that, which then leads you to allow to transition this weapon into a completely different weapon. So like this and this weapon are the two top tier weapons for this character in general. What I'm doing is collecting currency and money and items so that I can process through the game. Once you hit the final zone in the game, you can buy attachments that are gems like this, which give you huge boosts to the stats on your weapons, which is much greater benefit than using these generic attachments. So the idea is you're collecting these minion bait, which is fishing bait, and they sell for a price of 200 a piece. So each 5 that you collect gives you a straight up 1,000 coins that you can use. The gems themselves cost 3,000 a piece. So the idea would be that you would be going in, doing this, collecting a whole bunch of these, selling them, and then coming back to do it again. The main reason why it's easiest to do this here is because these sundews are actually fairly common drop in the dungeons, due to the fact that in order to fight the final boss, you have to have one. So they drop pretty regularly throughout the map, just making sure that you have one so that you can complete the dungeon. So as you can see, I've actually been doing this for a little while. Granted, now, your inventory space may not be as full as mine is if you're collecting money, or if you're not towards the end of the game yet. But this is just a generic guide. The idea is you make it to the second village, which is Matataki Village, which then you go through the dungeon up to floor 14, which you can see in the top right-hand corner. You hit floor 14. What you also need is a weapon with the special attribute Steel, which you can get from 2 types of weapons. There is a Bandit's Ring, which you can get for the 4th character, or there is a Bandit's Slingshot. So the idea is you upgrade this weapon up to level 5, you can then status break it, steal the attribute from this weapon, which is Steel, and attach that onto another weapon. So as you can see here, I have another slingshot that does happen to have the Steel and Big Bucks attributes. The Big Bucks attribute comes from a hammer that comes from this kid, that you can actually buy. You can just straight up buy it. So it's actually worth having. So my advice is to get both of them, both the Big Bucks and the Steel. Just because it just increases the profitability of doing this for a shorter period of time. So the first thing that you do is you clear out the entire base level of the dungeon. Make sure you have the one sundew that you want, or that you need. You then make sure that there's one of these here, a health pool, which will recover your health and your thirst. That is a very important section of this. The second portion of this section of the map is actually the best for experience. So typically when you're doing this, it involves you trying to upgrade the weapon over and over and over so that you can attach all of the attachments that you have, like this, where I have this, which is going to give 10 ice, it's going to give 10 rock, and 10 mimic breaker. So the idea is you get the gems, you attach them on the weapon, you use the weapon until it hits the level up status, you level it up with the gem attachments, and then you go back in and do it over. Get new gems based on what's left for the build-up into the next status. So it gets expensive very quickly, and it also becomes time-consuming. Most of the enemies in this don't really give you that much experience, but this right here, this werewolf, gives 10 experience per kill, which, as you can see, the weapon that I have here needs 132 experience to level up, which means that I would need 13 of these creatures in order to, or kill 13 of these, and then this weapon will be able to be leveled up. So it's extremely cost-effective way of leveling up your weapons, which is part of the reason why we come to this one. The second thing is, this is where you would use the Sundew, and it allows you to go to the back section of the map, which gives you a whole new set of inventory items or drop items on the map, which potentially can drop you gems as well. So there's also that benefit. But on top of that, it allows you to travel back and forth between the main and lower section, or the lower and the back sections of each map, which every time you do so creates more enemies. It respawns every enemy in the zone every time that you go between these. So I can run through here, and I'm using the Dran's Feather just to speed this up just a little bit here. So go through. Like I said, get a weapon with steel on it. I killed him fast. Now, it's also possible that if you have a lower tier weapon, or a weapon that isn't quite as strong as this one is, you can actually go in and use a lower tier weapon, which will give you a more chance, because the steel chance procs based on how many attacks you do. So if you are using the Bandit Slingshot from this character, you can hit it quite a few more times than I would otherwise, which gives you a higher chance of dropping that. Let me see, there's a few other things that I wanted to go over. So the big bucks, which I said was very important to have as well, that cash drop that you saw on the ground, that little gold bag, drops you money based on which enemy you're killing. It's like a range. I believe you get between 6 and 10 coins per bag drop in this zone specifically. The big bucks attribute doubles it. So no matter what you would be getting from that, if I'm getting 7, it would give me 14. If I'm getting 10, it would give me 20. So overall, it does pay for itself after a little while. I'm actually not being lucky, but as you can see, I've already gotten 2 cash drops that were just doubled. So I got an extra 20 coins, roughly, out of that. And there's a third one. So like over an extended period of time, as you're trying to collect all of the weapons that you, or all of the items, as you can see, like that, where I got a minion drop, which is one of these, the fishing bait that I was telling you about, sells for 200. So the idea would be, you run through, you kill all these enemies, or steal from each one. You can actually, if you have a lower tier weapon, you can run in, and if you happen to get the drop before you kill it, you can just move on to the next one. You don't have to kill it unless you want to. I typically, when I had lower tier weapons, I typically did not kill them. I would just steal from them, run off, continue on. But I might as well kill them, because then I get the chance of the coin drops here. So there, as I've cleared out this entire floor, we've made our way through, we've killed everything, we've taken all the coin, or all the money and the items from every enemy in here. So then you go back to this, you take the boat, it travels you back to the main floor, respawns all the enemies. As I said before, all of if you keep killing the werewolves, you can keep getting 10 experience per kill and then move on. So the idea would be you just run through this, get all of the kills on the werewolves that you can possibly get, and then you take the boat back, go back, steal all the items that you possibly can, go back, kill all the enemies again, and do the same thing over and over and over until you fill your inventory or you have your weapon upgraded to the point where you wanted to upgrade it to. So at this point, I have 83 items. I'm going to run through here, and we're going to get all the weapons that I possibly can, or all the items that I possibly can from this. We'll leave. I'll show you what it's like selling it, and show you where I end up. And as of right now, the main reason I'm doing this is my goal is to get the most powerful weapon for each character by the time I beat the game. So I'm basically to the point now where I could theoretically go in and I could beat the boss. It would take a little bit of work, not as much work because I already have a few master weapons, but I wouldn't exactly need to. So like that, I can just decide, you know what, I'm done. Now that I've killed all the enemies, I can just teleport out. So we teleport out. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is we're going to run directly over to the shop in this area. Jump in here. We're going to talk to Mr. Owl real quick. So right now, I'm going to buy 3 of these, which basically just negates it so that I have less cash stack. So now I have 600 coins currently available in my inventory. So I'm just going to go through and we're going to sell everything. And as you can see, my cash stack is just skyrocketing. And then on top of that, if you have any other items that you don't particularly need that you did get in the zone, such as this mellow banana, stamina drink, I have a few other things. You can get some bombs and some other items that you typically wouldn't really need, or you can keep them if you want, but I personally like to sell everything that I don't need. So now I'll sell that 3,000 back, and my total cash stack is now 14,857, which is 143 coins away from being able to afford 5 gems that I can socket onto weapons. I'm actually going to sell this, and there 20 off. We'll sell one of these. There we go. All right. Even 15,000. Now I can buy, as I said, 5 total gems, which allows me to upgrade one of my weapons that I have with 5 gems. So like in the case of this sword that I'm trying to upgrade, I can only get 2 on this weapon, which means that that's 1, 2.5 levels. And that weapon will be more than likely able to be built up into the next section. So that's it. That's how it works. And it's fairly easy, because like in the case of this, the most recent adventure into the dungeon that I had there, I actually ended up getting 2 of these sundews in 1 floor. I didn't have any when I went in, and then ended up getting 2. So I had 1 that I could use while I was there, and 1 saved for the next time. So that's it. That's how it works. That's how I've been personally working my way up to trying to get the top tier weapons in this game. So like this is the best possible slingshot that you can get for this character. This is the best possible ring that you can get for this character. This is the best possible machine gun that you can get, and this is the best possible, I believe it's considered a laser gun, I think is what they call it. So yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm working my way on getting every character into their most powerful weapons. I'm a couple away from this one, which is my current project. The next project, I'm going to be going in and upgrading this Last Judgment. And then the final one will be upgrading one of Ungaga's swords, or spears. I'll have to, I think it's the Mirage that I'm going for. But that's it. So I want to thank you all for joining me here today. As I said, this is more just kind of like a quick guide, quick tips kind of thing that I've been doing. My advice is, if you have any questions about the attachments and which attachments to use for which weapons, always check to see what your weapon needs and try and work your gem attachments around what you need. So like if you needed a little bit of everything here, you would go for a diamond, because that gives you 5 in all attributes and then 10 in the steel slot. So yeah, if you have any questions about the attachments and like which gems to go for, which gems are the best to go for, I would advise looking up on the IGN webpage. There is actually a guide that tells you, let me see, yep, if you look up under IGN guides, Dark Cloud wiki guide, you can look up under weapon attachments, and that will be the list of just explaining the attachments and how they work, and it'll give you a goal and a tip as to what each gem does. So that's it. Thank you all for joining me for this. I hope you found it informational. Maybe it helped you out, maybe it didn't. If it didn't, sorry. Thanks for joining me though, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.